Okay. Here's my grandma Barb, and she'll be talking about John F. Kennedy's assassination when she was 10 years old. Okay, so we'll start off with, when did the assassination occur?
November of 1963.
Okay, and then could you tell me about when this happened and how you knew about it?
Well, I was 10 years old, and I had a broken leg and had a body cast on. And I was going to the doctor's office to get that cast off. As my mother was turning the car off, the radio, we thought we heard something that said the president had been shot or something to that effect, but we didn't know what it was said. By the time we got into the doctor's office, all of the nurses and the receptionists were in tears, and they were all huddled around the radios. And again, as a 10-year-old, I didn't quite understand what was going on. So when I got my cast off and they were using the saw to cut my cast off, the nurse was in tears, crying, wiping away the tears, and I was mainly worried about my leg. But that's how I found out that the president had been shot.
All right, and how did this affect you?
At the time, I didn't know really what was happening, so it didn't affect me as much as knowing my family was upset. I knew something was wrong.
Okay. How long did America's vigil last after his assassination?
It seemed forever. I was at home, out of school, being tutored, and so I watched TV, and that was all that was on TV. And as a 10-year-old, again, that's what was in my mind. And I just remember at the time we didn't have 24-hour news. We had only network television. So they had to preempt all of the network programming in order to put the news on of the assassination and the funeral procession, and so it was difficult for me in that way.
Alrighty. And what do you remember about the funeral of John F. Kennedy?
What stands in my mind, I remember the funeral procession, and I remember the casket was being on a carriage led by a horse, and there was a riderless horse somebody was leading a black horse that had black boots in the stirrups with no rider on it. And that really sticks in my mind. And I also remember little John F. Kennedy's son, standing at his casket and saluting his dad. And that was very impressive in my mind.
Alrighty. And now that you have a better understanding about what happened back then, how do you look back on it now?
Now I know what a profound effect it had on our country. I don't think we've ever been the same. The trust and our security was broken at the time. And understanding it a lot more now, it just looking back on it, it was a very sad time in our country. But as we always do in America, we moved on.
Alrighty, and I have one last question for you. Do you think, well, now that you know about what happened and how you think about it, do you think if John F. Kennedy was still alive, if that didn't happen, change history a little bit, how do you think that would have affected our country?
I really don't have any idea on that.
Okay. Alright, I just figured a little twist. Alright, thank you for letting me interview you, and thank you for your time.